Welcome to Health Professional Radio today. I'm your host, Neal Howard. Very glad that you could join us. Our guest in studio is Mr. Greg O'Brien. Now, Greg has more than 35 years of experience as a writer, editor, investigative reporter, and a publisher. His work has appeared in the Boston Herald, Boston Magazine, Arizona Republic, the Associated Press, the Huffington Post, and many, many other publications. In addition, he has authored or been a contributing editor to several books, including his latest work on Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's. Greg is here today to talk with us about his recent appointment to the National Alzheimer's Early Stage Advisory Group as someone living with Alzheimer's. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Greg.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Now, you are living with Alzheimer's. Normally, many of us speak with someone who's an authority on the disease or someone who's written a book on the disease or maybe even a caregiver. It's a rare experience to speak with someone who's living with Alzheimer's on a day-to-day basis and still functioning as successfully as you are. You've just been appointed to the National Alzheimer's Early Stage Advisory Group. Now, this group is specifically designed to address issues associated with early stage Alzheimer's. Talk about your diagnosis.
Well, first of all, what I want to say is, and I've been on the National Alzheimer's Association Early Onset Advisory Group for several months, and I serve with an incredible group of individuals from around the country with the disease, and they can all speak, they can all function, and that gets back at the stereotype of the disease, which just is not accurate. That you're 85 years old, you're living in a nursing home, you're gonna die soon. It's a disease that can strike young, can strike in the 50s, 60s, sometimes earlier. It takes 20, 25 years to run its course. So these individuals on this board, I'm honored to serve with them. They are examples of the millions of people in this country who are out fighting against this disease, many of whom are intimidated to speak out because the word dementia, it sounds like a demon howling in the desert. People are afraid of losing their jobs. People are afraid of the stigma. And what this bold is doing, and what I tried to do with my book on Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's, is to enable people to step out and to speak about it, and that we're not alone, and that there are a lot of creative, important things that we can still do. Sure, we have limitations, and they're going to get worse and worse, but it is what it is. So,
now, being as young as you are and having been diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's, what types of misdiagnoses did you have to endure? Because obviously, that was the last thing you were expecting, or did you suspect it?
Well, that's a very good question. I fully suspected it because my maternal grandfather, my mother, died of Alzheimer's. My paternal uncle died of Alzheimer's, and before my father was diagnosed, before my father died, he was diagnosed with dementia. So it's in the family tree. And, when I started years ago, I'm 66 right now, but when I started years ago having the symptoms, I recognized them as symptoms in my family members. And then I had a serious head injury, and actually a second one that doctors said unmasked a disease in the making. So it was no surprise to me. I knew exactly what it was. But I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 2 weeks after being diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm not treating the prostate cancer. It's my exit strategy. It's a slow mover, but there is no cure for Alzheimer's right now. You can't remove a brain, and I don't want to take my family to that final dark place.
You've decided not to treat your cancer. As you say, it's an exit strategy. Is there any part of the decision that's based on the rigorous treatment to treat prostate cancer, or is it simply that? No. Explain that. It seems. But it's an exit strategy. I don't want to take my family to the nursing home. They're wonderful, wonderful places. But I've seen what happened to my grandfather and my mother, and we've made extraordinary improvements in care and research, but we're not there yet. And
till we're there, I don't want to take my family to that place of total devastation. So you look for things to take you out, and so I haven't. I have prostate. I have cancer in 5 places in my prostate, and haven't been to the doctor in 2 years since then. So I have no idea where it is now.
Have you been dealing with any symptoms of that diagnosis? And if so, how does it compound any of the struggles on a day-to-day basis that you have with Alzheimer's?
Well, again, because first of all, the symptoms of Alzheimer's is, I believe, having experienced both, are so much more horrific that it's incomparable. But with prostate cancer, you got to go to the bathroom a lot. You got to do, it is what it is. I don't feel any pain from it, but it's there.
Now, the early stage advisory group, its role is multifaceted. I understand, to raise awareness about early stage issues of Alzheimer's. Also, to be an advocate, increasing funding for research and support programs. What is normally what you do in your?
Well, I through the Alzheimer's Association. Also, I'm a patient advocate with the Cure Alzheimer's Fund of Boston, and Us Against Alzheimer's in Washington, D.C., both of which are extraordinary organizations, and people should Google them if they want more information. But the Alzheimer's Association has been so helpful to me. I travel the country speaking on their behalf at conferences and various events, and I've been gifted. I have a strong faith in God. Writing and communication is a gift, and that is still with me. And I do a lot of writing nationally on this issue on behalf of the Alzheimer's Association.
Are there ever times when family members need to assist you or accompany you when you're participating in the activities of the group, or is the group pretty much self-sustaining when those activities are going on? No,
we most of us can't travel alone, and I can't travel alone. And when we have these events, we're usually with other people. My son Connor is the one who's my go-to person, and he travels with me. We've have an extraordinary relationship, and you can't do it alone. And he sees a lot of the train wrecks, and God bless him. It's been a mixed blessing for him. But so when we go to these events, there's always a family member there.
And in wrapping up, let's talk about some of the professions that are represented in the early stage advisory group. You're a writer, an author, an investigative reporter. What about pilots, physicians, counselors?
Yeah. You have all that. I mean, they every year they appoint new members of the group, and then the people who were in the group before, they become, extended members and members at large. But, over the time, you have lawyers, and you have former CEOs, and you have medical individuals, and it covers all areas of life, and that's why it's such a strong group. And, you go online, the Alzheimer's Association, and find out more about it, as you can with the Cure Alzheimer's Fund of Boston and Us Against Alzheimer's in Washington, D.C., but the Alzheimer's Early Advisory Group is very professional, very eclectic, and they're doing extraordinary things in lifting the stereotype that Alzheimer's is just a disease of those who are in the waiting room to die, because that's just not true. That's the end stage.
And you're absolutely living proof of that fact. It's been great having you here with us today, Greg.
Well, it's an honor, and anytime you want to call me, I'm available to you.
Thank you. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at healthprofessionalradio.com.au and also at hpr.fm, and you can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio.